teacher, a scientist, an entrepreneur, a humanist, and a vocal reformer.
Professor P.C. Ray made spectacular discoveries in a threadbare lab, securing India in the international scientific arena. He founded the first modern research school of chemical sciences in pre-independence India. In 1861, Prafulla Chandra was born in Raruli village of unified Bengal in the Indian subcontinent. After the Sepoy Mutiny in 1857, the British Crown took over the ruling power from the English East India Company and rehauled education, transportation, and communication for self-interests. Curricular revision, brought about by the efforts of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, began imparting knowledge of modern science, philosophy, and logic in schools and universities. The educated and self-aware citizens started emerging in the wake of the Bengal Renaissance and formulated the Indian National Congress to attain Swaraj. Prafulla Chandra grew up in this wave, surrounded by dignitaries like Rabindranath Tagore, Motilal Nehru, Vivekananda, Madan Mohan Malviya, Ashutosh Mukherjee, and Mohandas Gandhi as contemporaries. Aged 18, Prafulla Chandra joined the first course in arts in a metropolitan institution after clearing the entrance exam in 1879. There, the chemistry was taught in the Presidency College by a young British teacher, Mr. Alexander Pedler, who eventually became Prafulla's driving force.
Mr. Pedler was a first-rate hand in experiments, and I began almost unconsciously to be attracted to this branch of science.
Prafulla Chandra won the prestigious Gilchrist Scholarship in 1882 and went to Edinburgh University in Scotland to study chemistry. There, he was inspired by distinguished chemists like Alexander Crumb Brown and started liking laboratory work involving chemical preparation and analysis. Eventually, he pursued a doctoral degree in independent, original research in inorganic chemistry. At that time, the classical concepts of valence ruled the structural principles of organic chemistry. Inorganic chemistry languished with a large storehouse of compounds, with the periodic table as the only unifying principle. Physical chemistry was in its nascent stage at the UK laboratories. Prafulla took the challenge to work in inorganic chemistry, mainly in double sulfates. Double sulfates are members of the double salt family, which contain more than one cation or anion in the same ionic lattice. For instance, potassium alum, used in barber shops to prevent minor bleeding, has a coexistence of potassium, aluminium, and sulfate ions in a regular lattice. It differs from a simple mixture of potassium and aluminum sulfate, where the mixture properties vary significantly from the double salt. After rigorous research in double sulfates, Ray was awarded the DSc degree in 1887. His dissertation topic was Conjugated Sulfates of Copper Magnesium Group, a study of isomorphous mixtures and molecular combinations. Prafulla Chandra returned to British India in August 1888 and joined the Presidency College. With lectures enlivened by neat demonstrations and historical anecdotes, he became an instant success as a teacher. Later he wrote,
I was as much in my elements as a fish in water.
In Presidency College, Prafulla Chandra started exploring the chemistry of mercury and its compounds. Mercury, a liquid cultish element, is said to be the most potent and poetic substance in the universe. Its extensive usage in Indian Ayurvedic medicines made Prafulla explore its chemistry. While attempting the synthesis of new mercury compounds, Dr. Ray unexpectedly discovered mercurous nitrite.
During the preparation of mercurous nitrate, by the action of dilute nitric acid in the cold on mercury, the yellow crystalline deposit struck me. A preliminary test proved it to be mercurous nitrite. This discovery opened a new chapter in my life.
This work was reported in 1896 in Journal of Asiatic Society and Journal of Chemical Society. Also was immediately reported in Nature's 28th May issue of 1896. In 1904, Prafulla Chandra succeeded in synthesizing stable double salt of mercuric nitrite, where mercury exists in the higher plus 2 oxidation state.
For Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray, synthesis and characterization of new and interesting groups of compounds was the primary target of his activities. His expertise in designing and executing synthesis was highly commendable. For characterization, the meager facilities available only allowed him to employ elemental analysis, available thermal methods, and solution reactions. Only later, he could use tools like cryoscopy and ionic conductivity. Since molecular structure determination tools were unavailable, structural guesswork based on physical appearance, chemical composition, and chemical behavior were the only way to proceed. In spite of such limitations, his formulation of the new mercury compounds, including mercurous nitrite and the nicotine complex of mercuric nitrite, were found to be correct.
Prafulla Chandra also found interest in exploring organic nitrites, compounds where the metal ions are replaced by alkyl ammonium ions. One compound that caught his fancy was ammonium nitrite, which is close cousin of ammonium nitrate, widely used as explosives. As it sublimes upon heating, Chandra became determined to estimate its vapor density. It was tricky, as the other gases co-evolved with the gaseous ammonium nitrite. Prafulla Chandra obtained a vapor density of 33.5, which was very close to the calculated value of 32.
The experiment demanded watching for 10 to 12 hours at a stretch for close up to 2 months, but so intense was the interest attaching to it that we forgot all about the duration of the time attached to it. At the close of every day's experiment, I used to tremble with solicitude not unmixed with secret joy.
Sir William Ramsay, the Nobel laureate for discovering noble gases, congratulated him on his fine work. Nature magazine remarked,
Professor P.C. Ray has added to his success in preparing ammonium nitrite in a tangible form, a further accomplishment in determining the vapor density of this very fugitive compound.
His work interested other researchers and chemists in this sparsely known field of nitrites. Post his retirement from Presidency College in 1916, Ray became the first Palit Professor of Chemistry at the newly founded Calcutta University, at the call of Ashutosh Mukherjee. Here, Prafulla Chandra started working on the new field of sulfur ligands and their coordination complexes. Professor Ray and his students began exploring the coordination chemistry of sulfur-based ligands. Sulfides of heavy metals such as mercury and gold are the key ingredient in several Ayurvedic medicines. For example, Siddh Makardhwaj, a popular Kupipakwa rasayan, is prepared with Swarna, Parada, and Gandhaka in a specific ratio of 1:8:24. His work on this class of coordination compounds led to the discovery of triiodomercurate. It is one of the first examples of the rare phenomenon of planar tri-coordination in transition metal chemistry. Prafulla Chandra contributed extensively to the coordination chemistry of heavier transition metal ions, such as gold, iridium, and platinum with sulfur-based thioethers. In 1924, he synthesized a series of gold-2 and gold-3 complexes, having the following molecular compositions. A particular member of this series was found unusual, and deceptively implied the presence of gold in +2 oxidation state. After careful study of chemical reactivity and conductivity measurements, he daringly formulated the compound as a non-ionic molecular compound. Decades later, X-ray crystallographic studies revealed this to be broadly true. The compound had a one-dimensional polymeric structure, with chloride bridges binding the alternate gold-1 and gold-3 thioether complexes. Prafulla Chandra was the sole originator of the iridium thioether stereochemistry. He synthesized isomers of hexacoordinated iridium and assigned them the cis and trans geometries based on color and earlier reports. His predictions were later found incorrect, but Ray's original synthetic work brought interesting combinations to light and set the ball rolling for future researchers.
As one new compound followed in the wake of another, I could fully enter into the feeling of immortal she. There is no delight like that which springs from a discovery.
The discussion on Prafulla Chandra's contribution to inorganic chemistry is incomplete without mentioning his work on double sulfates. For his doctoral work in Edinburgh, Prafulla Chandra worked on determining the actual composition and molecular structure of metal double-double sulfates, whose presence was hotly debated at that time. Following a very careful investigation, Prafulla Chandra concluded the existence of double-double sulfates of definite composition. His conclusion was based on crystallization and compositional analysis, since advanced analytical tools for structure determination was unavailable at that time. The internal structure of typical double sulfates started becoming clear only after X-ray diffraction studies were undertaken around 1930s, the time when Prafulla Chandra would be about to quit his active research. X-ray diffraction studies proved that double-double sulfates, including the ones made by Prafulla Chandra, were actually only simple mixtures of the constituent double sulfates. They crystallize together with random distribution, much like the metals in alloys, which are also known as solid solutions. Between 1927 and 1930, Prafulla Chandra worked on the replacement of anions and cations in double sulfates. Especially the work on anion replacement were remarkable because it was based on rational structural principles that were contemporary.
Prafulla also had a long-standing interest in organic synthesis, which he expressed in the terminal years of his career. There are two endeavors which stand tall among all. One is his methodology for camphor synthesis, which was published in Nature in 1934. In his paper, Chandra provided mechanistic insights of camphor synthesis, which to date holds true. The other is his synthesis of fluorinated organic compounds. Although there are only a handful of naturally occurring fluorine-containing organic molecules in the biosphere, synthetic fluoroorganics are present in 25% of current pharmaceutical compounds. Prafulla Chandra synthesized a series of fluorocarboxylate esters and fluoroketones using thallus fluoride in 1933. On analyzing the research output of Professor Prafulla Chandra Ray, we find that most of his works are in premier journals such as Nature and Royal Society publications. After the establishment of the Journal of Indian Chemical Society, Ray primarily published on the Swadeshi platform, subtly portraying his nationalist spirit to promote indigenous science. Acharya Ray envisioned dedicated students into scientific temperament in subjugated India.
Bonds existing between them and I were subtle, as those of chemical affinity.
Some of his mentees included Gyan Chandra Ghosh, director of IIC Bangalore and the founding director of IIT Kharagpur, Nil Ratan Dhar, who started physical chemistry research at the University of Allahabad, Biresh Chandra Guha, founder of biochemical analysis in India, Panchanan Niyogi, Priyada Ranjan Ray, and many others. The eminent Indologist Sylvain Levy rightly said,
"His laboratory is the nursery from which issue forth the chemists of New India."
Prafulla Chandra, inspired by the French chemist and historian of alchemy, Marcellin Berthollet, studied Sanskrit manuscript and published 2 volumes of the History of Hindu Chemistry in 1902 and 1909. These books were acclaimed internationally for their exposition of Indian philosophical doctrines of matter that had unfolded over millennia in the Indian subcontinent. Through his books, he showed that the science of metallurgy and medicine had advanced significantly in ancient India when Europe practiced alchemy. Kautilya's Arthashastra detailed metal extraction and alloy making. Ancient India's chemical excellence impressed Imperial Rome, which was a leader in chemical industries. By the 6th century, India was far ahead of Europe in industrial chemistry.
The synergistic relationship between science and industry in the Western Hemisphere greatly influenced Prafulla Chandra.
The huge progress in the industry achieved in Europe and America is a history of the triumph of researchers in the laboratory. These thoughts weighed heavy on me at the threshold of my career at Presidency College. As my fellow countrymen suffer from lifelong impoverishment, I wondered how to utilize the 1001 raw products that nature, in her bounty, has scattered throughout Bengal and subsequently India.
Ray founded the Bengal Chemical and Pharmaceutical Works in a rented house at 91 Upper Circular Road and was converted it into a limited company in April 1901. This was solely an individual initiative with an intention of fostering a spirit of entrepreneurship among the Bengali youth and providing an alternative to jobs from the colonial British government. By 1930s, this became the first Indian company whose indigenous chemicals and products could successfully compete with the goods imported from Britain. The first factory of Bengal Chemicals and Pharmaceutical Works was established in Maniktal area in Kolkata in 1905. Three more factories were established, one in Panihati in 1920, one in Mumbai in 1938 and one in Kanpur in 1949. Its registered office still remained to be in Kolkata. In 1935, the Bengal Chemical and Pharmaceutical Works employed 2,000 people and had net assets worth ₹500 crore of rupees.
The other side of Acharya P.C. Ray was his tireless social service. He gave away most of his salary to the oppressed and downtrodden. His share of Bengal Chemicals profits went to poor widows and orphans. In 1921, there was a famine in the Khulna district, now in Bangladesh. Instead of sitting idle in that hour of crisis, he created a Khulna relief committee and led a sustained relief effort for months. The following year, in 1922, a devastating flood occurred in North Bengal. Here again, the British government played the role of a mute spectator. Under the leadership of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the Bengal Relief Committee was formed and Prafulla Chandra was elected the president. He, along with his students, notably Dr. Meghnad Saha, worked tirelessly to provide relief to the flood affected. In 1931, a flood again struck North Bengal. Prafulla Chandra, then a man of 70, formed the Sankat Tran Samiti and led the relief effort from the Calcutta University.
A man intent on spreading scientific temper in the country, Prafulla Chandra was a force against superstitious practices. He wrote,
I have been teaching for half a century. In this period, I have told the students that the demons, Rahu and Ketu, do not devour the sun and the moon during eclipses. Also, the prayers of the humans have nothing to do with the demons releasing these celestial bodies as the eclipse ends. These stories of Rahu and Ketu are not scientific propositions but mere products of creative human imagination. But during the eclipses, when conch shells are blown in the houses, the so-called educated people would throw away their food. Some would even join the prayer processions in streets out of baseless fear.
On the issue of casteism, his pen was even more scathing.
Are we humans? All these Haris, Doms, Chamars, Malis, Bagdis, and Matils live like animals around our house in the darkness of ignorance. We have done nothing for these fellow countrymen. Nevertheless, they are not allowed to come close or even touch us, the self-proclaimed educated upper class of the society. We drive them away as if they are the living embodiment of some lesser evolutionary species. We might pet a dog on our lap, but if a healthy child of a cobbler unintentionally crawls up our stairs, we feel hell has broken loose. In the name of caste and religion, we have trodden millions of fellow Indians under our feet for centuries. Are we humans?
He kept himself busy with numerous other ventures. He wrote books for children. He was president of the Bengali Literary Society. He remained active in various avenues of social reforms. He continued working relentlessly for the causes dear to him without any expectation of fame.
As a chemist, I hope I have not failed to do justice for the temperament of the greater scientific community. I have always felt minimal pride in any large-scale things achieved, if at all they are. But having found happiness while working on these, filled me with joy.
Prafulla Ray passed away on 16 June 1944, 2 months short of 83. To pay homage, Nature magazine wrote, Sir Prafulla was more than anyone else responsible for the great development of scientific research in India during the past 50 years. Rabindranath Tagore said, it is difficult to believe that this man, in simple Indian dress wearing
भास हृदय प्रणय कुसुम राश पिनह चारुण्यलबास हृदय प्रणय कुसुम राश हरे नेत्र में मलहास हरे नेत्र में मलहास कुंज बन में आला गहन कुसुम कुंज माछ धान कुसुम सुरभ भार धान बिहग सुरभ सार धाने तो अमृत धार बिमल रजत भार